did you send an official agenda, Kim? And I just probably didn't open it up because I didn't think we were going to be here, or?
I did not send.
All right, okay, that's okay. No problem.
I think that Dana had sent, sent the agenda with the,
Oh, Dana did with that last one? Okay.
Yes, Dana, I'm sure she did.
Okay. Would that be on board docs, do you think? Is there?
Yes.
It should be.
It's
Yeah.
on board docs. Yeah.
Okay. Just a minute, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Well, I will call this meeting to order. The first thing on the agenda is the the policy number 9020. So Sharon, if you could go over that.
Yes, I am going to, let's see if I can get you live. And am I able to share my screen? I would, because it's so, I don't know if Craig is still
Sharon,
on.
yes, you should be able to.
Okay, very good. Let me just, I'm trying to get to the big screen so that
I can share mine too if you want.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine, because for some reason,
Can you guys see that?
Yep.
There you go. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, good afternoon. This is a very simple change, but it came as a result of a little bit of confusion about who is the district spokesperson. And clearly the superintendent is, but we all know that John Helmholtz often speaks on behalf of the district, and that's a key part of his role. And we had an issue where we actually had to look at this policy, and we realized, oh, wait a minute, it does not allow for that, technically speaking. And so we just wanted to clean that up, and we put designee because that way the superintendent has flexibility to who he or she would like to appoint in the future. But at this point, the superintendent, Dr. Roby, has appointed or assigned John Helmholtz as being able to represent the district in all of these ways, in news conferences, interviews, media releases, etc. So that was the reason why this was changed, and it just came up with a lot of things that have been going on, and so we figured we would fix it while we saw it. Any questions?
This may not be necessary and is probably splitting hairs, but just because we're living in this Zoom world, I'm just wondering if the last sentence, this policy applies to in-person, virtual, telephone, or written interviews.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good catch. Yes, I could certainly add that if the.
That's a great one.
Good thinking.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah. All right. I will make that change. And with that change, then it would be ready for a vote from the committee.
So do
Well,
we
go ahead.
Yep. Go ahead. You can make a motion.
Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to move forward policy 9020 to the full board.
Second that.
All right.
Call the vote.
All
Kim.
right.
Okay, I'll call the vote. I vote yes. Kathy?
I vote yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
All right. Very
I
good.
wonder where Jose is, because he's usually.
I know. I don't have his cell phone number.
Oh, I think I do. Just a minute. Let me find my cell phone, and then I'll give him a call.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me see
So that was
here.
all that I have today from the administration.
Yes, let me get us back to. Let's see. Okay. See, this is good practice because I have to start doing this again with kids.
Yes.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we just have a couple discussion items. And the first one is the role of the policy committee.
Zoom.
So I'll wait for Kathy real quick.
Okay, yes. And Ms. Davis, you have the actual policy that you could put up for the board members to look at if they needed to.
Okay,
The current policy that has the committees.
they're having it right now. So
Let me see if I can find it.
I'll do later, okay? You take care.
Should be in one of those that I sent.
Yeah, it is. So let me pull up that email real quick.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Kim, but he must have forgotten because he doesn't have anyone to cover his store, so.
Well, luckily you're here
I know.
because we needed you
So
for that
lucky
vote.
I'm here, yeah.
Okay, let me pull up that email real quick, Sharon.
Okay.
Okay. Board committees. Okay, let's see.
Do you see it? It's 1180.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's the most, we added those. Let me just make sure that's the most current one. I'm looking at it right now. No, this was Jane. We just revised this policy.
When we added it as a permanent committee?
Right, exactly. And I think that was, let me see, let me pull it up then, because I'm sure I have it.
Is it legislative, one of those permanent ones?
Yes, but this one is where we just recently moved added the policy committee, yes, and the legislative committee.
Okay.
I'm going to pull it up then.
Okay.
In a second here. I'm going to find it. And it was 1180. Did I say? Let me see.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. 1180. All right. And what I will do is I'm going to send it to you then.
Okay.
And that way you will have it to be able to display.
So our goal here is to come up with, what do you think are the most 5 essential roles of the policy committee?
Well, I guess number one, that is the thing that Sharon always does, is that she is constantly reviewing things so that everything is legal and done according to what the state says we should do, or
Mhm.
somebody tells us to do, right, Sharon?
Yes. All right,
Maybe
I
it's
just
just
sent
Sharon.
that. Uh-oh. Oh, wait a minute. I think I might have sent it to myself. Sometimes that happens. Oh, boy.
That's awesome.
I know it. Oh, boy.
So, and really when it comes to that part, that role, we are reviewing any updates or changes that Sharon has made to policy, correct?
Well, it's not so much that Sharon makes it, but Sharon brings it to us in the right words so that we are lined up with what the state or the ISD or whatever says we must do. So Sharon does all that work. So fortunately for us, but that's why Sharon's in charge of everything.
No,
Can you
oh
see-
gosh, no.
Can you see 1180 now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what I think is being said is that one role of the policy committee is to review existing policy on a rolling basis. And that's really what I have observed from the years ago that I chaired this committee and then have had the opportunity to serve. It takes a good couple of years to get through every policy. And
And then you go right back over and start all over again. you know,
yeah,
so-
I'll tell you, though, as a board member, I have
Good
so
job.
appreciated the work because I know these policies, and that's the idea, right? As a board member, it's highly beneficial to be able to go through them. And yeah, it's kind of detail work, but that's one
And
of our
we
most
have the
important
best
roles.
leader, too. Yeah, she really, she keeps us on our toes. That's important.
Sure, yeah. So reviewing existing policy and then adapting policy to adhere to legal standards.
So here's the definition that we have for policy committee. Review and recommend policy creation, modification, or elimination to the full board, consistent with the goals and objectives of the district.
Kim, do you feel like there's anything missing from that?
I do. I think I don't think there's a lot missing from it by any means. I think, we said review existing policy. I think where it says recommend policy creation, I would have mentioned that.
Absolutely.
I think elimination, we've eliminated parts of policies multiple times because of legalities.
Or redundancies too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily I think it's a pretty good description of what our policy committee does.
Yep. Now, of course, we've come up with two things sort of on our own. I know that Jose was very concerned about, we're having this code of ethics, and basically we had one, but it was vague. Sharon, would you say vague? Or yeah. And so we came up with our own by, looking over everybody else's and then decided one to adopt. So that was sort of, and it's just like the equity policy now too. That's something that I'm sure there's something in there, but I don't think it speaks to the entire issue the way we want it to. And so we spent that whole day doing it. So I think there might be times where the impetus comes from someplace else, like the equity policy. It wasn't something that necessarily that any of us thought we needed to change, but we agreed with the whole board and the leadership that was something we should work on. And we've been working on it forever, right, Sharon? So
We're getting close.
yes, we are almost
Sure.
there. But
I think maybe what I think could be missing from this is where it says consistent with the goals and objectives of the district. I wonder if it would make sense to put something in about, and like something to do with legalities, right?
We could say goals and objectives of the board, the district, and to ensure something that legal requirements are met, or
Yeah.
something of that nature.
Adherence to legal requirements. Yeah.
we are in line with, with.
Mhm.
Right.
required.
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm. Sharon's our wordsmith. She has to come up.
I'm actually, while you all are talking, I'm on the document now, just trying to make sure I capture it in the actual document, and then I can send it to you all when you want, and you can wordsmith it a little bit more if you'd like.
Yeah, and I would say I believe the reason that this is on the agenda is at the committee chair meeting, we talked about just having some clarity around what the purpose of each committee is. So I just really wanted to involve the two of you in that conversation. So if there's anything in addition to what's in this paragraph already, please let me know. And if you come up with something in the next few days too, but we'd like to, just kind of clarify that before the end of the year.
Sharon, are you going to send that to us, or should we just, oh, you are, okay.
Yes, I will send it to you, yes.
And then we should look that over and decide if that's enough.
Right, or
we can
suggest,
add it. Okay, yeah, that's fine, that's
You
fine.
can certainly suggest
Mhm.
some changes to it.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, it really is. I mean, if I were to come up with 5 things that the committee does, I think that paragraph pretty much encompasses our role.
As you can remember at the meeting, you all really came up, worked, kicked around different definitions of what the committee would do. So it's very recent, I think, that you all came up with it. So it's probably why.
Yeah, it makes sense that it would be in line with what we were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other discussion item on the agenda is what information, if we were to have new board members, or when we do have new board members, what information do you feel like would be beneficial to provide some clarity for how we go about just different processes and that type of thing as a board? I'm not sure if we'll come up with like a board intro new member packet or what, but we're just kind of thinking, what could we make more clear? What processes or structures?
Well, this isn't necessarily a policy thing, but.
No,
and I
just
know-
whole board in general.
Okay, I know that when I first came on the board, we didn't have board docs. And, the things would be sent to me. And because I didn't know about opening up this and opening up that, I sat there for 6 months trying to figure out what people were talking about. So I really think number one is that they become familiar with board docs. And just like, when Tony was telling me I could find all that stuff on the policy, I even went there tonight looking for it and I couldn't find it. He, Dr. Roby sent it to us, but it's written down somewhere on board docs, but I don't know where that is. So if somebody could be on the board for 4 years and still not figure out board docs, maybe it's me, so Tony told me to look up in the corner, and it's up there in the corner. And I looked, and it says policies and stuff. So I think knowing board docs, really knowing how to use board docs is really important.
So like maybe like a short training or
something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, something. And then when they have it, I'll go to it as well. So of course we won't have any new board members for a while. So they'll just have to, board docs for dummies or something like
right.
that.
I think that John Helmholtz GRPS 101 for new staff is a really valuable walkthrough. So if I was president and new board members were coming on, that'd probably be the first work session that I would do. That gives a new board member the breadth of how many languages are spoken and what are the demographics and just the basics of the district. It's also a great one for legislators.
And I don't really, excuse me, Jen. I don't really think that necessarily just has to be for new board members, because things in our district change all the time.
Absolutely.
And like maybe every, John
A
could probably
refresh.
come to one of our work sessions and just gives us an hour or so. I'm not sure what he usually takes, and you know, if it's stuff that doesn't really apply to the board, but I think, you know, when they were talking about how many teachers work for us and all this kind of stuff, I thought, wow, I didn't know that. It would be nice, you know. It's probably my fault. I didn't dig deep enough. I'm sure it's all here somewhere, but those are the things I think are important that new board members know. That's what I felt I was missing, at least. So
Jen, what did you call it?
GRPS 101.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Section 1000 of the bylaws is really important. That's everything about the board specifically. So everything from how do we elect officers to just what are the legal requirements of serving and what happens if you need to remove somebody. I mean, these are things you don't want to think about, but they're really beneficial to know just how we govern. Well,
Yeah,
Open
and
Meetings Act.
I do feel like when I came on, like I sat down with John, and I believe that was basically what we went through, was all of that. I sat with Sharon and went through a lot of the legalities. I feel like the district does a really good job of onboarding new board members.
Yep.
maybe it was just me.
No,
I
think you make a good point, Kathy, though. I think maybe it does deserve a little bit of refresher, right? Because we get going with just the regular meetings and work sessions, and just like when we go into closed session, a lot of times we're like, how do we do this? Because if it doesn't come up a lot, we're human.
Yeah.
And
well, you know, like 2 weeks ago when we went into closed session and Christian said, now Kathy will call us into closed sessions. I am? What do I do now? Fortunately, Jen was there to walk me through it because I remember Jen had done it. But then after that, I figured I'm not going to look that stupid again. So I called and got all kinds of information, whether we wanted it or not, but now I know. So, but it is, you know, it's hard. And then I think, and I'm glad that you and Kim had that experience. Mine, you know, Wendy had me over and talked to me and stuff like that. And that was kind of my initiation, was a conversation with Wendy. And this is not a criticism of Wendy because she was a wonderful president, but I just don't think I was given a lot of information.
I think that we improved our process after you came on, just after some feedback. So I think that that's right. We tightened up the process a little bit, and I do just as you reminded me, Ms. Davis, I do think having every new board member does need to understand the Open Meetings Act and the Open Records Act. So those would be things that I think would be very important, especially if the board member has not been in a public body before, because those rules are very different.
And I think too, it might be, and I don't know if you took it, Kim, but I know our other Kim took it, you know, that first initial MASB. Did you take that one, Kim?
No.
101 or something like that. You know, that's really good because it tells you all of the kinds of things that you kind of need to know about what's legal and what's illegal and what you can do and what you can't do. And they really stress the importance of keep your mouth shut. Don't say anything out in public that might come back on you, you know, and about just so many of us can be together. And I know Kristen's very concerned about when we send emails or texts and things like that. And those are things that I learned in that class. So
yeah, Sharon actually did a wonderful job with me as far as all that goes.
She never has.
I remember leaving the office thinking, okay, I gotta be super careful.
It's terrifying, sobering. Yeah, we all get a good dose of fear.
I couldn't stand it anymore. I just couldn't stand it because I knew Sharon had just let me down.
Right. That's good. My goal is accomplished then.
Yeah, but we know how to dance, so that's more important anyway. So
Robert's Rules of Orders is another one. It's not fun, but running a smooth meeting is everything in this body. How do you make a motion a second? How do you table a motion? How do you amend a motion? And then, just understanding the nuances of doing that accurately when discussion happens. That kind of stuff is really important.
Mm-hmm.
And how to get something off the the consent agenda.
Yep. How to move something off the consent agenda. Yep.
That I learned to do that
Yeah.
very early on. Tony taught me how to do that, just, because, well, I don't think I know enough about this to vote on it. And so he said, well, just pull it off, told me how to do it. So those are things too that you learn as you go along too, when you think, I better know this or I'm going to look kind of dumb.
What about the process for obtaining information from the staff?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one that might be helpful because people don't always understand, the role of the board.
Yeah, that superintendent board roles.
Yes,
Right.
yes, exactly.
Exactly.
What
Yeah,
you
that's
do
really
and what
helpful.
they do. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. For our district specifically, I'm a lover of the dashboard report. I make them often in my own organizations and committees, but like a facilities dashboard would be so helpful. Like, how many buildings do we have? Where are they? I love the annual facilities report that tells us the capacity of each building and the enrollment of each building. That kind of information is so fascinating, I think, and helpful to understand the district. Similarly, finance. So a financial 101 or financial dashboard. What is the fund balance and how is it calculated? What does it mean? And then how do you look at massive financial statements and pull out the information that's most important? Or how do you identify where possibly you should ask a question? Those things are really intimidating if you're not navigating financial statements regularly.
That's why I really rarely ask questions about finance because
Well, it's huge, right? We're
and that's why we
$1 billion
need
organization.
Yeah, we need people like you and Jose and Tony, and then Kim too, Kim Williams.
Not me.
Not me either. But you and I are alike. Remember, Kim? We discovered that at that work session last year.
Right, yeah.
We don't like
the DISC
numbers.
assessment. Mhm.
I'm wondering, as we're brainstorming all of these things, I feel like a lot of them are already available. I'm wondering if a quick reference guide for things you should be knowledgeable
About Grand Rapids Public Schools rather than
well,
just
for new board members, right?
Yeah.
Or like even when somebody is questioning whether or not they want to run for school board, a quick reference guide of these things would help them get prepared leading up to the actually being on the board.
That's a good idea. I think that flow chart, now I know that Dr. Roby's was just sort of edited but I remember Sharon or Teresa, one of the first meetings, a work session we had, she brought in that flow chart and we were all, that sort of made me understand, who's the boss and who's in charge of this and who's in charge of that. And I like that. And I'm sure that.
Oh, the org chart, the organization chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Enhanced with pictures would be amazing because I am better with faces than names.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jen, because I remember spending like the first 6 months trying to figure out who was who, because it's so important to me to learn people's names, and there's really no reference on the website that I could find for most people.
And
I would love pictures. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Flashcards. I almost asked for flashcards at first so I could be at home okay.
Executive assistants and things like that, not the secretaries, executive assistants, which one goes with who, it took me a little while to figure out who's secretary and stuff like that.
And even like security officers at district office, like when we come in for meetings and stuff, I always introduce myself, but it takes me a couple times
to
remember someone's name.
Mm-hmm.
So pictures would be amazing. Yeah.
Kathy, we're at 5:30. How are you on time?
I got about 10 more minutes.
Okay, great.
Okay.
We have a short agenda. So I'm just gathering what things we think would be beneficial to have some more clarity on for new board members. So.
And these could be, as you said, Ms. Davis, this could be an electronic orientation manual or guidebook or whatever you want to call it, so that information can constantly be updated. Now, some people
Right,
like
right.
more, like to have the paper, and of course we could certainly do that for them, but it could be also a source that's available electronically for the board.
Yeah, well, and honestly, it could be, if it's electronic, it could be when it comes to like going through the Open Records Act, Open Meetings Act, all that kind of stuff that you sat down and went through with me. It could be like a bullet point, like these are things you need to be knowledgeable of and aware of. Please schedule a meeting with Sharon Pitts. Here's her picture. Here's her extension. And she'll
Gonna
gladly
change
sit down with
everything.
you and explain things. You know what I mean?
Right. It's funny. I'm on another board, and it was very helpful. They had for them it was a little bit different. It was a little bit smaller, but the major kind of the work. So here's what the facilities department does. Here's what and had that staff person, the head of that department. Actually, of course, we were on Zoom, but I found that to be very, very helpful for me in terms of understanding the organization of the board
Right.
that I was on. So in addition to the manual is, we would have these kind of in-person or hopefully in-person meetings, but then the manual is a backup. So if you need to, I can't remember that, I can, flip to the manual, say, oh yeah, that's who that is or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And really, I mean, like Kathy and I mentioned, even having had those trainings at the beginning, we're human. We need
Fade away. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Oh, I
don't
thought
use it all the time, it is going to slip away,
I thought of two more.
I mean,
Yes, Jen. Too.
Legislative priorities. That was so helpful for me. I started as an appointee, and I really used those to kind of study for my interview. So super helpful. And then strategic plan. So what was the transformation plan, and then whatever iterations of that moving forward. That's really helpful too for new board members.
Yeah, and that was one of the things John went through with me when I met with him at the beginning of all of this. So,
our conflict of interest is really important.
Mm-hmm.
That's what made me think of that. For really to understand those rules.
And I also think just exactly what we were talking about tonight is who is the spokesperson, and how I remember one time when we were in the middle of all this hiring the new superintendent stuff, someone came up to me and asked me a question, and John was right there. And I said, do I say anything, And he says, yeah, you can talk. You're not speaking for the board. So you could, because they asked me, who was I looking for or something like that. But people should know that they just don't go out and speak to the media. That should be number one thing that they learn, because that can really cause a lot of problems for everybody who has to clean it up afterwards. So
We've never done a media training, have we, as a board?
Oh.
I did that through the Michigan Political Leadership Program, and it was great. And they put you through a lot. Like you do a panel interview simulation, you do on the spot, like they have a camera, they have a microphone, you literally do it. Oh, it was
intimidating.
Great, super intimidating, but great. Yeah.
that would not.
John does a very good media communication kind of training. So you would be a good resource for that.
That's great.
Well, folks, I'm going to go
Time has
grab a
come.
little supper, and then I am going to go off to my class tonight from 6 to 9.